You open your eyes for the first time, but there's nothing to see. The world is a warm, pulsing darkness, a muffled prison of shell and fluid. Your universe is the sound of your own heart, a frantic, unsteady drumbeat, and the close, suffocating presence of others just like you, their own heartbeats a dissonant rhythm against your own. There is a dim, orange glow filtering through the leathery wall of your container. It is the only sun you have ever known. A frantic instinct, an ancient and unthinking command, tells you to move, to push, to break free. Your limbs, still soft and useless, thrash against your confinement. A small, sharp point on your snout, an egg tooth, your first and last specialized tool presses against the inner wall. You push. Again and again. A crack appears. Not a sound, but a splintering of light in your dark world. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. With a final, desperate shove, you rupture the membrane and tumble out into the real world, wet, gasping, and utterly, hopelessly unprepared. The air is the first shock. It's thick, heavy with the smell of damp earth, rotting ferns, and the metallic tang of things recently killed. It burns your new lungs. The light is the second shock. A hateful, blinding glare from a sun that doesn't care if you live or die. Consciousness returns to nature's most ambitious overreach. Welcome to the stage. Official designation: Giganotosaurus carolini. The name is a mouthful, a clumsy string of syllables concocted by the apes who would find your bones eons later. But you are known, in their simple tongue, as the Giganotosaurus. It means giant southern lizard. A fittingly bland title for a creature whose entire existence will be a screaming, frantic, and ultimately pointless struggle against the sheer inconvenience of being alive. You look around, your vision slowly clearing. You are in a shallow ditch, a pathetic excuse for a nest, littered with the broken shells of your former homes. And you are not alone. You are surrounded by them. 20 writhing, blinking, identical copies of yourself. Your brothers, your sisters, your competition, your first pantry. There is no welcoming parent, no gentle nuzzle, no promise of protection. Your mother, an 8-ton engine of destruction, abandoned this clutch the moment the last egg was laid. Her genetic duty was done. If she were to wander past this very moment, she would not recognize you as her own. She would simply see a convenient, bite-sized morsel. An ancient hunger, a void in your belly that will never truly be filled, gnaws at you. It is the only real emotion you will ever know. 30 seconds ago, you were an abstraction, a potential. Now, you are a predator. Your gaze falls upon a sibling, one who is still struggling, half in, half out of its shell. It is weak. It is available. You don't think. You don't reason. You simply act. Your jaws, still soft but lined with tiny, needle-sharp teeth, clamp down. There is a brief, pathetic struggle. The crunch is soft, unsatisfying, but the reward is a burst of rich, life-giving yolk and flesh. This is your first meal. This is your first lesson. The world is a buffet, and everything in it is either a threat or an opportunity. There is no in-between. Congratulations. You have survived the first 5 minutes of your life by murdering and eating your own kin. Don't get proud. It's all downhill from here. Of the 24 hatchlings that broke free into the blinding Cretaceous sun, only 4 remain by the end of the week. You are one of the lucky ones, a term used here with maximum irony. Your small cohort forms a skittish, nervous pack. This is not a family. There is no affection, no loyalty, no camaraderie. It is a mutually beneficial arrangement of meat shields. You stick together for one simple, statistical reason. When a real predator attacks, the odds of it eating you specifically are only 1 in 4. You just have to be a little faster, a little more alert than the sibling lagging behind. Let's call him contingency plan. Your world has expanded from the nest to the vast, fern-choked plains. And you quickly learn that your brutal birth was not an anomaly. It was the mission statement for your entire existence. Everything is a potential threat. The sky holds giant, leathery-winged pterosaurs that could pluck you from the ground like a fish from water. The rivers, which you must cross for a drink, are ruled by monstrous crocodiles, patient architects of death who have been perfecting the art of the underwater ambush for millions of years. Smaller, swifter theropods, raptor-like creatures with an unsettling intelligence in their eyes, harry your little group constantly, testing your defenses, waiting for one of you to stumble. But your greatest fear, the one that haunts your primitive brain and sends you scattering into the undergrowth, is the sight of an adult of your own kind. An adult Giganotosaurus is a walking mountain of muscle and appetite. It does not possess parental instincts. It possesses a metabolic rate that demands a constant supply of calories. To this behemoth, you are not kin. You are a convenient, self-propelled snack. A predator popper. The sight of its massive, scarred head cresting a hill is the signal to run, to hide, and to pray that it decides to chase the larger, slower juvenile sauropod instead of you. Your survival strategy is, to put it mildly, pathetic. You are living in the shadow of giants, a member of a tiny, roving street gang in a city ruled by titans. Think of your pack as a deeply dysfunctional business venture. You are all co-founders, but you're also plotting to liquidate each other's assets the moment it becomes profitable. Teamwork consists of a group hiss at a smaller threat, but the moment a real challenge appears, the company dissolves, and it's every lizard for himself. And you must learn to hunt. This is not the elegant, cinematic ballet of death the apes will later imagine for you. It is a comedy of errors. Your body is a mess of disproportionate limbs. Your legs have grown faster than your torso, and your oversized head threatens to tip you over with every sharp turn. You run with the grace of a sack of hammers falling down a staircase. You will try to ambush a fleet-footed ornithopod, a creature the size of a large dog, and you will misjudge the distance, launching yourself into a thorny bush. You will attempt to chase down a lizard and trip over your own feet, landing snout first in the mud. You will spend weeks, months, being a dreadful hunter, surviving mostly on insects, carrion left by more competent predators, and the occasional, deeply unlucky smaller creature that was too sick or stupid to run away. Each failure is a lesson written in the sharp pangs of hunger. Each clumsy attempt hones the coordination between your eyes and your legs, slowly, painfully transforming you from a walking disaster into a barely functional killing machine. Somehow, against all odds, you don't die. The years of awkward adolescence, of near misses and hungry nights, slowly pass. Your body, once a clumsy collection of mismatched parts, finally grows into its own formidable frame. The clumsiness consolidates into devastating power. Your legs are now thick pillars of muscle, capable of carrying your 8-ton body across the plains. Your head, once an unwieldy bauble, is now a 1.5-meter-long instrument of death, a fortress of bone armed with a mouthful of serrated, banana-sized daggers. You have arrived. This is the peak. You are now the apex predator of your world. The fear that was once your constant companion is now a scent you leave in your wake. The creatures that once hunted you now flee from the thunder of your footsteps. Even the great titanosaurs, the walking continents of flesh like Argentinosaurus, watch you with wary eyes. You hunt them now. You and your temporary allies, a pack forged not of loyalty, but of overwhelming, shared necessity, will isolate one of these behemoths, harry it, and bring it crashing down in a cataclysm of dust and blood. For a fleeting moment, standing over the carcass of a creature the size of a building, you feel something that might be mistaken for triumph. You are the king. You are invincible. Life seems, at last, to have a purpose. Enjoy this moment. Inhale it deeply, because it is a lie. This isn't the pinnacle of your existence. It's the beginning of a new, more insidious kind of suffering. You have traded the fear of being eaten for something far worse, the soul-crushing administrative burden of being the top predator. Your first enemy is the one that lives inside you, your own body. Your immense size is a metabolic furnace that burns with a furious, insatiable hunger. You are a slave to your stomach. The need for calories is a screaming, relentless tyrant in your mind. You need to consume vast quantities of meat every single day, not to thrive, but simply to exist. The satisfaction of a kill lasts only until the digestion begins, and then the gnawing emptiness returns. Your life is no longer a series of thrilling hunts. It is a relentless, grinding cycle of resource acquisition. You are not a king. You are a highly specialized janitor of flesh, constantly working to keep your own internal engine from sputtering out. Your kingdom, the vast territory you patrol, is not a symbol of your power, but a cage of your own making. Every meter of it must be defended. And your only rivals are creatures exactly as big, strong, and desperate as you are. Encounters with other Giganotosaurus are no longer about avoiding a predator. They are brutal, high-stakes negotiations over property lines, conducted with roars and teeth. These are not noble duels. They are ugly, desperate brawls that leave you with deep, septic wounds, broken teeth, and scars that will ache for the rest of your miserable life. You fight, you bleed, you win, and your prize is the right to continue the same pointless patrol tomorrow. Then there's mating. It is not an act of union, but an exercise in controlled violence. A female enters your territory, and the negotiation begins. It is a terrifying dance of two 8-ton carnivores, both armed to the teeth, trying to complete a biological imperative without accidentally disemboweling one another. The courtship is a series of threats and displays, a tense standoff that can easily tip into a full-blown battle. If you succeed, your reward is to pass on your glorious genetic legacy of anxiety and violence to a new generation you will never meet. The act itself is clumsy, dangerous, and utterly devoid of anything but grim necessity. Your greatest success, being the biggest and the baddest, has become your most profound curse. The years grind on, each one etching another line of failure onto your body. The peak of your power is a distant memory, a cruel joke your aching bones tell you every morning. The decline is not a sudden, dramatic fall. It is a slow, seeping rot, an erosion of the self. The teeth you lost in territorial brawls never grew back quite right. Your jaw is a mess of misaligned daggers and sore, empty gaps. Chewing is now a laborious, often painful task. The deep gash you took on your flank years ago from a rival's claw never fully healed. It is a constant, festering nexus of pain, a breeding ground for infection that your aging immune system can no longer effectively fight. The limp you acquired as a clumsy adolescent trying to prove your worth against a sauropod has returned with a vengeance, blossoming into a full-blown Cretaceous arthritis that sends jolts of agony up your leg with every step. You are slower now. The explosive burst of speed you once used to ambush prey has dwindled to a stiff, lumbering trot. Your senses, once sharp enough to detect the scent of blood on the wind from a mile away, are dulling. The world is becoming a blurrier, more muffled place. The prime hunting grounds, the riverbeds where the great herds gather, are no longer yours. They have been claimed by the next generation. Younger, stronger, faster versions of you. Their hides still largely unscarred, their eyes bright with the same stupid, arrogant confidence you once had. You are pushed to the margins of your own world. Your diet changes. You can no longer coordinate with a pack to bring down a titanosaur. You are a solitary creature now, not by choice, but by necessity. You have become a scavenger, a ghost haunting the edges of your former glory. You follow the new kings from a safe distance, your head low, waiting for them to finish their meal. You, who once feasted on the still warm hearts of your kills, are now reduced to skulking in the shadows, hoping for a few strips of sinew and intestine from a carcass that has been baking in the sun for 2 days. The taste of rot becomes your new normal. There is no dignity in this. It is a slow, walking death. Your final confrontation is not with a mighty sauropod in a battle for the ages. It is not even with a hated, lifelong rival. It is with a young buck, an upstart barely out of his prime, who decides the mediocre patch of scrubland you call home is now his. He finds you sleeping near a muddy waterhole. He is everything you are not. His teeth are white and perfectly aligned. His muscles ripple under a hide free of festering wounds. He carries the brutal certainty of youth. He doesn't even need to fight you, and you both know it. He approaches, head held high, and lets out a roar. It is not a challenge. It is an eviction notice. You rise, your old bones creaking in protest. You try to summon a response, to dredge up the thunder that once shook this very land. But all that comes out is a dry, wheezing hiss. A pathetic echo of the monster you used to be. You look at his unblinking eyes, his complete lack of fear, and you see your own obsolescence. There is no fight. There is only the final, crushing humiliation. You lower your head, turn, and shamble away, leaving behind the last piece of territory you will ever claim. You are no longer a king, a scavenger, or even a rival. You are just a ghost, wandering toward your own grave. You wander for days, a walking relic of a bygone era, which was, in fact, last Tuesday. The gnawing hunger in your belly has faded to a dull, persistent ache. Your body has begun to consume itself. You are too weak to hunt, too tired to scavenge. You find a muddy riverbank, the same kind of place where you once battled crocodiles for a drink, and you collapse. This is where the engine finally sputters out. There is no final, defiant roar. No dramatic flashback to your glory days. Your end is profoundly, beautifully, and mercifully unspectacular. You die from a simple infection in a wound you got 3 years ago. Or maybe you just die of starvation. Or perhaps sheer, crushing exhaustion. The specific cause is irrelevant. You close your eyes, and the great, complex machine of your body grinds to a halt. The terror of a continent, the 8-ton monster that haunted the dreams of every living creature in this valley, simply ceases to be. Your final breath is a quiet, shuddering sigh, lost in the ever-present buzz of oversized insects. Your great body, the ultimate expression of predatory evolution in its time, does not rest in peace. It becomes a resource, the ultimate indignity. The crocodiles you once terrorized are the first to arrive. They, who are masters of patience, tear at your tough hide with their bone-shattering jaws. Flocks of pterosaurs descend from the sky, their sharp beaks picking away at your flesh. An army of insects and smaller scavengers arrives to clean up the scraps. Within weeks, the creature that was you is gone, scattered and assimilated back into the brutal, indifferent ecosystem. All that remains is a skeleton, picked clean, ready to be swallowed by the mud. And as your last recognizable tissues are being carried away by a carnivorous beetle, the camera of our story pans across the floodplain. Miles away, in a shallow scrape of dirt identical to the one you were born in, a clutch of leathery eggs begins to tremble. One of them cracks. A tiny, beady-eyed hatchling, a perfect miniature of you, emerges into the blinding sunlight. It takes a breath, feels the first pangs of that same ancient hunger, looks at its still hatching brother, and takes a bite. The whole pointless, agonizing, and idiotic cycle begins anew, without change, without progress, without a single lesson learned. You lived an entire life of violence, struggle, and pain, just to become dirt. Your grand legacy was to be forgotten under 97 million years of rock, a footnote in the geological record. You'd think that would be the end of the humiliation. You'd think you'd finally earned the sweet, silent oblivion of geological time. But you weren't that lucky. So, that was your life. A symphony of violence and metabolic anxiety, ending in a forgotten ditch. A perfectly self-contained and meaningless existence. But the universe wasn't done with you. After you were safely dead and buried, nature performed its greatest and most elaborate cosmic joke. It evolved an even more problematic primate. An ape clever enough to find your remains, but not wise enough to leave you alone. And that's when your personal, biological tragedy became a public, historical catastrophe. They didn't want your meat, but your memory. And they were about to dig you up. For 97 million years, you knew peace. The kind of profound, absolute peace that only comes from being buried under a kilometer of rock. You were pressure cooked, mineralized, and turned into stone. Your violent life was over, your legacy secured as an anonymous layer of sediment. It should have been your final, quiet reward. But then came the sound. It isn't a roar, or the splintering of bone. It's a delicate, irritating tap, tap, tap. It's the sound of a small metal tool wielded by a soft, clawless hand, chipping away at your stone tomb. The first sensation you felt in the Cenozoic era is the jarring vibration of a dental pick against your fossilized tibia. After an eternity of silence, you have been disturbed. The creature responsible is not a rival predator. It is a new kind of ape. It stands upright, it is dangerously intelligent, and it is obsessed with the past. This one, a local car mechanic and amateur fossil hunter, doesn't see a monster. He sees a curiosity, a prize. He brushes the dust from your exposed bone, his mind racing not with fear, but with ambition. He doesn't wonder what you were. He wonders what you could mean for him. You are not a god to these creatures. You are a clue. You are not an object of worship, but an object of study, which is a far more invasive and humiliating fate. They don't build altars to you. They build plaster jackets around you. Your entire being is reduced to a series of measurements. The length of your femur, the curvature of your ribs, the serrations on your teeth. Your life of unimaginable brutality and instinct is distilled into a dry, academic paper filled with charts and jargon. The apes who found you don't worship you. They worship the potential for tenure and a named professorship that your bones represent. Your divine purpose, it turns out, is to be a museum centerpiece. The excavation is a slow, methodical desecration. Your skeleton, once a perfectly integrated engine of destruction, is disarticulated bone by painstaking bone. Each piece is numbered, cataloged, and shipped in a wooden crate like common cargo. You, who once roamed a continent, are now freight. In a brightly lit laboratory thousands of miles from your grave, they reassemble you. They get some of it wrong. They mount you in a dramatic pose that your anatomy could never have actually achieved, all for the benefit of the paying public. Your terrifying roar is replaced by the gentle, incessant hum of a museum's climate control system and the squeaking shoes of children on polished floors. You are now educational. You, a creature of pure, savage instinct, are used to teach lessons about a world these soft mammals can barely comprehend, a world they are secretly glad is gone. This fame brings with it a new, unforeseen indignity. As they measure your skull, they realize it's a few centimeters longer than that of their previous champion, the celebrity skeleton known as Tyrannosaurus rex. And just like that, you are drafted. You, a 97-million-year-old pile of rocks, are now the lead antagonist in the nerdiest conflict in human history. You become the T-Rex killer. Internet forums ignite with furious debate. Documentaries with dramatic music and cheap computer graphics are produced to simulate a fight between you and a creature you were separated from by 30 million years and an entire continent. You are blamed for ruining the cherished monster of their childhoods. The injustice is staggering. You spent a lifetime engaged in real, life or death combat, only for your ghost to be endlessly pitted against another ghost in a pointless fantasy battle for the title of biggest, baddest theropod. So this is your first legacy. This is the grand result of your rediscovery. You are no longer a creature. You are a data point in an endless argument. Your magnificent, terrible life has been reduced to a single, infuriating question asked by obsessive hobbyists. Yeah, but who would really win in a fight? Congratulations. You have transcended existence to become a piece of trivia. The museum hall and the dusty archives of academia were merely your holding cell. A waiting room before your true damnation could begin. Because as the 20th century bled into the 21st, you were discovered by a far more powerful and far less scrupulous group of primates, the storytellers. Not the keepers of sacred myths, but the executives of global entertainment conglomerates. In a glass-walled office in California, a man in an expensive suit who has never held a fossil in his life saw a picture of your skeleton and didn't see a scientific marvel. He saw a property, an asset, a villain for quarter two. Your second life begins here, not with the crack of an egg, but with the signing of a contract. You are no longer a creature of flesh and bone, or even of stone. You are now an idea, a commodity to be developed. Your name, Giganotosaurus, is tested in focus groups. Does it sound menacing enough? Is it too hard for children to pronounce? Should we just call you G-Rex to leverage existing brand recognition? Your entire identity, forged over millions of years of brutal evolution, is now subject to marketing notes. You are redefined not as an animal, but as a monster. The subtle complexities of your biology are sanded off, buffed away to create a smoother, more marketable product. You need to be bigger, louder, and stupider than you actually were, because nuance doesn't sell action figures. Your new job title is intellectual property. Your systematic exploitation now enters an industrial phase. In brightly lit design studios, artists who think Patagonia is a brand of fleece jackets begin to improve you. They give your skin a more menacing texture. They add osteoderms and spikes you never had because they look cool. They design a roar for you using a distorted blend of elephant screams and bear growls, a sound your vocal cords could never have produced. You are being bred again, not by nature, but by a committee of artists and producers creating an unnatural, hyper-aggressive hybrid designed for maximum on-screen impact. This new version of you, this soulless caricature, is then replicated endlessly. Your likeness, now legally owned by a corporation, is licensed out. You, the 8-ton terror of the ancient South, are now a 4-inch plastic toy in a child's bedroom, your mighty roar replaced by a tinny squeak when squeezed. You are on t-shirts, lunchboxes, bedsheets, and video game covers. Your name, once feared by every living thing in your ecosystem, is now a registered trademark, protected by a team of lawyers who will sue anyone who uses your image without paying a licensing fee. You have become an entry in a ledger book, your value measured not in kills, but in quarterly profits. The collateral damage of this new fame is the complete and utter assassination of your character. The magic of computer-generated imagery brings you to a vibrant, photorealistic life, a technological marvel that serves only to make your humiliation more spectacular. They place you in stories you were never a part of. You are cast as the mindless, genetically engineered antagonist in a futuristic theme park that has gone predictably haywire. You are made to fight creatures you were never meant to meet. Your ancient rivalry with T-Rex finally consummated in a CGI slugfest that ignores physics, biology, and common sense. You are no longer a hunter. You are a slasher movie villain, a lumbering brute that exists only to be spectacularly defeated by the film's heroes, be they resourceful humans or a more sympathetic, good guy dinosaur. And so, your second tragic legacy is cemented. The profound irony is that your strength, the very essence of your being, has been co-opted to generate revenue for a species you would have considered prey. Your terrifying beauty is the reason you were twisted into a grotesque parody. You finally achieved a global fame you never had in life, but it is the fame of a cartoon villain. The most dominant predator on your continent has been reduced to a two-dimensional monster, slain for the cheap thrill of an audience that needs to be reminded that, no matter what, the clever apes always win in the end. The age of cheap plastic and blockbuster movies was just another stop on your long, posthumous journey of humiliation. It felt like a nadir, but the human apes are nothing if not inventive in their methods of desecration. You now enter your final phase of existence, the most bewildering of them all, the age of digital ghosts and sentimental hypocrisy. The world has moved on. Industry and information have replaced simple spectacle. And so, you must be redefined once more. You are no longer a monster to be feared, but a problem to be solved. In sterile university laboratories, scientists who were children when your movie caricature was on screen now dedicate their careers to deconstructing you. You are fed into a computer. Your bones, once objects of simple awe, are scanned with lasers, creating a perfect, high-resolution, three-dimensional model of your skeleton. This digital copy of you is then subjected to endless tests. They run biomechanical simulations to calculate the precise force of your bite in newtons. They create algorithms to model your gait, arguing endlessly about whether you walked with a reptilian slouch or a more bird-like stride. Your very essence is reduced to a series of data points, a ghost in their machine. You are a floating wireframe skeleton on a black background, a subject for their endless, dispassionate analysis. Simultaneously, you are repackaged for a new generation of media consumption. You are the star of a new, obscenely expensive documentary series, narrated by a beloved celebrity with a trustworthy, soothing voice. Here, you are rendered with breathtaking realism. Every scale on your skin, every glint in your eye, is a testament to the power of their technology. They show you hunting, sleeping, even caring for your young in a way you never actually did, all set to a soaring orchestral score. You are no longer a villain. You are a tragic hero, a magnificent creature doomed by an asteroid you'll never see. You have been repurposed as a logo for prestige television, a symbol of a lost, romanticized world. And in the palm of their hands, on the glowing screens of their personal devices, you are reborn again. This time as a cartoon, a collectible character in a mobile game. Your terrifying form is shrunk, your features softened, your eyes made large and friendly. You are Giga, a cute, marketable pet that can be hatched from a digital egg and fed digital steaks. You have been fractured into a dozen competing identities, all existing at once. You are a serious scientific specimen, a somber symbol of natural majesty, and a pocket-sized cartoon character. You are everything to everyone, and therefore, you are nothing. Your final and most insulting usefulness in this modern era is to become an object of their guilt. After centuries of systematically destroying their own world, of wiping out countless species, the apes have developed a fondness for abstract remorse. And you are the perfect vessel for it. You are held up as the ultimate symbol of what has been lost. Look upon this majestic beast, the soothing narrator intones, as your CGI ghost gracefully stalks a herd of sauropods. A testament to the power and wonder of a world we can now only dream of. We must learn from the past, lest we repeat its mistakes. They say this, their voices dripping with manufactured sincerity, while the very industries that power their civilization ensure that nothing on your scale, nothing as wild and untamable as you, could ever possibly exist again. You are not a lesson. You are a guilt sponge. Your extinction allows them to feel a moment of profound, elegant sadness about the planet. A sadness that requires no action, no sacrifice, no change. It just requires them to watch your show and feel thoughtful for an hour. This emotional utility you provide leads to the final, most comfortable phase of your imprisonment. It is a prison of kindness, the most inescapable kind. You are now a treasure, an irreplaceable artifact. And so, you must be protected. Your original bones, the very ones that ached with arthritis and bore the scars of real combat, are now deemed too precious for public display. They are locked away in climate-controlled drawers in the museum's basement, accessible only to a few select primates with PhDs. The skeleton that stands in the Grand Hall, the one the crowds see, is a replica. A perfect, lightweight resin copy. You have been replaced by your own stunt double. Your final resting place is a lie. This Grand Hall is your new ecosystem. A sterile, silent world of polished marble and carefully directed spotlights. The air has no scent. The temperature never varies. The only sounds are the reverent whispers of your captors, the distant echo of footsteps, and the cheerful bing of the elevator. Compare this to the world you knew. The scorching heat, the sudden, violent downpours, the thick, humid air buzzing with insects the size of your hand, the constant smell of blood and decay. They have saved you from the harshness of your own world by creating a vacuum, a sensory deprivation tank where you are the sole exhibit. Your neighbors in this prison are other ghosts. Across the hall is a triceratops, a creature your ancestors might have hunted. Now you are silent roommates, co-stars in the same static display of a bygone era. You are stripped of your animosity, your predator-prey relationship reduced to a convenient curatorial juxtaposition. You are all inmates here, your magnificent, violent lives neutered and cataloged for easy consumption. And the tourists, the endless river of soft, brightly clothed apes, flow past your cage of air and light. They look up at you, their faces filled with what they believe is awe. They listen to the audio guides that whisper sanitized facts into their ears. Notice the immense size of the skull, a calm, professional voice says, a killing machine perfectly adapted to hunt the largest dinosaurs of its time. They hear killing machine and think of their movies, not of the gnawing, desperate hunger that drove you. They see immense size and think, how cool, not of the crushing metabolic burden that defined your every waking moment. They take pictures. So many pictures. They pose their children in front of your resin lags. They hold up their phones and take selfies, contorting their faces into expressions of wonder, with your magnificent form reduced to a slightly out-of-focus background element in the story of their day out. You have become a prop, a backdrop for their digital memories. They spend perhaps 90 seconds with you, the culmination of your 97 million year journey. They read the plaque, they take the photo, and they move on, their minds already turning to the museum cafe and the gift shop. The gift shop is the final insult. Here, your terrifying power is fully tamed, monetized, and turned into kitsch. Your likeness is sold as a plush toy, soft and cuddly, a complete betrayal of your bony, muscular reality. Your skull, once a tool for crushing the vertebrae of sauropods, is now a design on a coffee mug. Your name is on keychains, erasers, and t-shirts that say, "I'm a tyrant lizard. But I'm not a T-Rex." They have taken your life, your death, your very bones, and your legacy, and they have turned it all into a range of affordable souvenirs. This is the prison of kindness, to be so beloved, so admired, that you are sanded down, copied, and sold, until nothing of what you actually were remains. And so we arrive at the grand finale, the ultimate punchline to the cosmic joke that is your existence. After the brutal reality of your life and the farcical theater of your afterlife, what is the final, profound truth of your relationship with humanity? It is the most elegant and cruel irony of all. After taking your world, your life, your bones, your name, and your story, they have found one last thing to take from you: your absence. And they have turned it into their most treasured possession. They do not love you, the creature of flesh and blood. That creature would horrify them. You, in your prime, would be a walking ecological disaster in their tidy, manicured world. You would be a problem to be solved with helicopters and high-caliber rifles. They would hunt you down with the same grim efficiency they apply to any other major inconvenience, and they would call it progress or public safety. No, they do not love you. They love that you are dead. They worship the fact that you are gone. Your absence is their canvas. Upon it, they can project all of their romantic notions about the wild and the natural. Because you are safely extinct, you can be anything they want you to be. You can be the noble, tragic king of a lost world in a documentary. You can be the thrilling, mindless monster in a movie. You can be the fascinating puzzle box for a scientist. You are a safe monster, a convenient tragedy. Your extinction is a luxury for them, allowing them to feel a deep, philosophical connection to the raw power of nature without ever having to face the terrifying, bloody, and inconvenient reality of it. Think of it as the ultimate form of tourism. They are tourists in your timeline. They pay a small fee to visit the museum and look at your resin ghost. They pay a monthly subscription to watch your CGI ghost hunt on their screens. They get to experience a sanitized, curated, 1% version of your world. And then they get to go home to their climate-controlled houses and sleep soundly, untroubled by the thought of an 8-ton predator lurking outside their window. They love the idea of you precisely because they will never have to encounter the reality of you. This entire long, sordid affair, from the moment that first fossil was chipped from the rock, has been a series of misunderstandings and exploitations. The scientists saw you as a key to the past, but used you as a key to a career. The movie producers saw you as a monster, but used you as a tentpole for a franchise. And the modern human, the tourist in your tragedy, sees you as a symbol of lost majesty, but uses you as a way to feel good about themselves for a few fleeting moments. Each one has taken what they needed from your story and discarded the rest. Your biological tragedy was at least honest. Your life was a straightforward nightmare of eat or be eaten. It was brutal, it was violent, but it was authentic. There was no hypocrisy in a rival challenging you for territory. There was no irony in a crocodile trying to drag you into a river. The rules were simple, and the stakes were real. Your historical tragedy, this long second death at the hands of humanity, is a far more complex and dishonest kind of hell. It is a hell of good intentions, of mild curiosity, of sentimental branding. It is, in many ways, a far more profound and humiliating extinction than the one that merely ended your life. What then is the final legacy they have crafted for you? What is your ultimate purpose in their world, after all the analysis, the commercialization, the sentimentalizing? It is to be a mirror. A vast, fossilized mirror in which they can gaze upon their own reflection and feel impressed. The awe they feel in the museum hall is only partially for you. The larger portion is reserved for themselves. When they look up at your towering form, they are not just seeing a predator. They are seeing a testament to their own cleverness. Look at what we have done, they think subconsciously. Look at this magnificent beast that we, the clever apes, have unearthed from the stone, pieced back together, and understood. Your existence validates their intelligence. Your skeleton is not just a relic of the past. It is a trophy of their present, a symbol of their mastery over time and history. The power dynamic is now absolute, its reversal complete. In your world, you are the ultimate authority. Your will was imposed upon the landscape through sheer physical force. Now, you have no power at all. You are utterly, totally, and eternally subject to their whims. They control your image. They write your story. They can decide tomorrow that you were, in fact, a gentle herbivore that was tragically misunderstood. And if they produce enough convincing documentaries, that is what you will become to millions. They can decide you had feathers, and suddenly, every rendering of you will be adorned with garish plumage. They own your narrative. This is a power far more complete than the power to kill. It is the power to define. And it is a power they wield over you with the casual indifference of a god. Your biological life was a constant struggle for control over your territory, your food, your own survival. Your historical afterlife is a state of absolute surrender. You cannot even control your own posture. You are frozen in whatever dramatic pose their museum curators deemed most exciting. You are a silent, eternal captive, forced to play the part they have assigned you in their grand pageant of natural history. And the part is always, ultimately, about them. They look at you and contemplate extinction. Not your extinction, really, but their own. You are a memento mori, a reminder that even the mightiest can fall. Seeing your bones allows them to flirt with the concept of their own species' eventual demise, a little thrill of existential dread that they can easily shake off on the car ride home. You are a safe vessel for their deepest anxieties. You are their prehistoric therapist. You allow them to touch the void, to feel the immensity of geological time, and then to retreat back into the comfortable certainty of their own lives. You make them feel profound. Your life of mindless, instinctual violence has been repurposed to service their search for meaning. And so, every interaction is a quiet assertion of their dominance. The scientist who scans your bones asserts the dominance of reason over brute force. The filmmaker who animates you asserts the dominance of storytelling over reality. The child who buys your plastic replica asserts the dominance of consumerism over nature. And the tourist who takes a selfie with your skeleton asserts the dominance of the individual's fleeting experience over your millions of years of existence. Everyone gets to be the hero of your story. Everyone, that is, except you. You just get to be the silent, fossilized prop that makes it all possible. This is the final transaction. They have taken everything from you, and in return, they give you their fleeting, self-serving attention. It is a terrible bargain, but it is the only one you are offered. They have imprisoned you in their kindness, but the prison is not for your protection. It is for theirs. They keep you under glass, behind ropes, and on screens because they need to keep your terrible, authentic truth at a safe distance. The truth is that you represent a world that is utterly incompatible with theirs. A world of absolute violence, of profound indifference, where the only thing that mattered was the strength of your jaw and the sharpness of your hunger. A world where they, the clever, dominant apes, would have been nothing more than a brief, squealing snack. They need to believe they have a connection to you. They need to feel that when they look at your bones, they are bridging the gap of 97 million years. But this connection is a fantasy. It is a one-way street. They are not connecting with you. They are connecting with a heavily edited, committee-approved version of you. It's the emotional equivalent of falling in love with a heavily photoshopped profile picture. The real you has been systematically erased, layer by painstaking layer. Your biological reality was buried under mud and time. Your fossilized reality was obscured by plaster and scientific theory. Your scientific reality was distorted by Hollywood special effects. And your cinematic reality is now being atomized into a million pixels, a ghost in a global network. You are a copy of a caricature of a memory. Every brutal truth of your existence has been reimagined as a quirky fact or a dramatic beat. The desperate, bloody act of sibling cannibalism that marked your first moments of life. It's now a fun fact on a website for children about dinosaur behavior. The constant, gnawing, soul-crushing agony of your metabolic needs. It's reduced to a single, sterile line on a museum plaque. This predator had a large appetite. The pathetic, lonely, and undignified death you suffered, collapsing from infection and starvation. It's replaced in their stories by a heroic, final stand against a rival, or a noble, tragic demise as a fiery asteroid lights up the sky. They have taken your tragedy and made it palatable. They have made it entertaining. They consume your story to add a little spice to their own safe, predictable lives. It is a form of narrative vampirism. They drain the raw, chaotic energy of your real existence to make their own feel more meaningful by comparison. They can watch your CGI form tear apart another dinosaur and feel a thrill, a vicarious rush of adrenaline, before turning off the television and checking their email. You provide them with a temporary escape into a world of high stakes, a world they are profoundly grateful they do not actually inhabit. You are their prehistoric horror movie, their primordial action film, their tragic period piece. So what is left? After all the digging, the mounting, the filming, the scanning, what remains of you? Only an echo. A silent ghost haunting the machinery of the species that has inherited the Earth. A creature of immense, world-shaking power, now reduced to a silent servant for their culture. Your final, and perhaps greatest, tragedy is not that you went extinct. It is that you were found. It is that your peace was shattered. It is that your magnificent, terrible story was taken from you and rewritten by a cast of well-meaning, curious, and profoundly selfish primates who could never, ever understand. They could never understand the simple, brutal honesty of your world, and so they replaced it with the complex, layered dishonesty of their own. So here you are, at the end of it all. A silent collection of resin and plaster in a temperature-controlled hall. A flickering image on a billion screens. A disembodied concept in the minds of a species you never met. You have been chewed up and digested by human culture, a process far more thorough and efficient than any predation you ever performed. They have consumed you completely. They consumed your bones for their science, your scale for their debates, your ferocity for their films, and your tragic demise for their feelings. And now they consume your very silence, interpreting it as wisdom, as majesty, as whatever they need it to be at any given moment. Your final legacy, the one that will stick for as long as they themselves survive, is to be their ghost. Not just a fossil, but a genuine specter that haunts their civilization. You are the ghost of a world they destroyed. You are the ghost of a power they can only simulate. You are the ghost of a time when the planet did not belong to them. And like all ghosts, you are trapped, forced to replay the story of your life and death, not as it happened, but as they wish to remember it. You are doomed to an eternity of reenactments, each one tailored to the whims of the living. They stand before your skeleton, and they feel a manufactured sense of loss. They mourn the extinction of which you are a symbol, yet their entire world is the instrument of that extinction. Their cities, their industries, their sheer, overwhelming numbers are the asteroid of their age, a slow-moving, relentless cataclysm that has scrubbed the planet clean of anything too big, too wild, too inconvenient. They mourn your passing with the same detached sentimentality with which a triumphant emperor might gaze upon the ruins of a city he himself has burned to the ground. Their sadness is not a sign of empathy. It is a feature of their victory. It is the luxury of the conqueror. The final, cynical truth of your long relationship with humanity is this. You were a creature defined by your hunger, and you were consumed by a creature defined by its own. But where your hunger was for flesh, theirs is for narrative, for meaning, for content. They have devoured your story and left nothing behind but a well-marketed, easily digestible product. You are the ultimate ghost, a creature of immense power reduced to a silent echo, haunting the machine of the species that would have been your easiest meal. They mourn your extinction while holding the smoking gun, and they sell tickets to the funeral. Your entire, epic, 97-million-year story, from the first taste of your sibling's flesh to the last flicker of your CGI counterpart's eye, has been reduced to its final, most elemental form. Your tragedy is their entertainment. You might think this is the end, that being a multi-platform ghost, a symbol of hypocritical grief, is the final station of your long, humiliating journey. But you underestimate their ingenuity. Their capacity for finding new and improved ways to misunderstand you is boundless. Your prison is about to get an upgrade. They are no longer content to simply watch you on a screen. They want to walk with you. They are building virtual worlds, perfect digital replicas of your Patagonian floodplain. Soon, a human in a small, air-conditioned room, wearing a cumbersome headset, will be able to experience your world. They will feel the simulated heat, hear the synthesized buzz of Cretaceous insects, and watch as your digital avatar stalks across a field of pixels. They will feel a manufactured thrill as you roar, a sound designed by a sound engineer in Burbank. They might even have a game mode where they have to survive for 10 minutes in your presence, a pathetic parody of the lifelong terror you inspired. They will call this educational and empathetic, but you are just code, a complex puppet dancing for their amusement in a digital cage they have built for you and for themselves. It is the ultimate safe safari. And then comes the final, most terrifying act of hubris. The whispers have already started in their laboratories. The idea of de-extinction. They have fragments of proteins from your relatives. They have the complete genomes of birds, your most distant and pathetic living descendants. They will talk, with great seriousness, about the possibility of bringing you back. Not for your sake, of course, but for theirs. To prove that they can. To play God. To reverse the extinction they feel so abstractly guilty about. Not by fixing their world, but by forcing one of its most spectacular victims back into it. Imagine that horror. To be stitched together from fragments of code and scraps of DNA, grown in an artificial womb, and born again. To open your eyes not to the familiar, hateful sun of the Cretaceous, but to the fluorescent lights of a laboratory. To be raised in a paddock, a genetic marvel, a tourist attraction beyond their wildest dreams. You would be the ultimate celebrity, the loneliest creature in history. A living fossil brought back by your destroyer's children, to be gawked at in a new, even more real theme park. A creature built for a lost world, stranded in an alien one that has no place for you. No titanosaurs for you to hunt, no rivals to fight, nothing that your instincts would recognize. It would be an existence of pure, unrelenting confusion and misery. A biological tragedy remade as a technological farce. Perhaps you should hope for their civilization to end. Perhaps that is your only chance at a final, true peace. When their servers finally go dark and their cities crumble, what will be left of you? Your resin skeleton in the museum will turn to dust. Your plastic toys in their landfills will erode into microparticles. But your digital ghost, the terabytes of data that constitute your CGI models, your simulations, your video game character, might persist for a little longer. A silent stream of ones and zeros floating in the ruins of their global network. A corrupted file on a solar-powered server that keeps running long after anyone is left to look at it. This would be your final form. Not even a memory, but the potential for a memory. An abstract whisper of data. The most meaningless and rarefied state of being imaginable. It is the quietest, most complete form of non-existence. And after everything they have put you through, it is probably the best you can hope for.